Yes, there are people there. See them? Way over. See them? And this rock, I told you they named the rocks here. This rock immediately to our left is called Whale's Back Rock. Doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And as we clear the trees here, if you look out, you'll see that memorial again. We can't get into the parking lot, too small. See the two stones? Oh, you'll see them right here. And you'll see them here too. So that's the Swiss Air Memorial. On this side, it's quite a drive to get to the memorial site where the bodies are buried. We got a lot of fish in this area. Bluefin tuna love to come up to this area, and they're huge. A gentleman by the name of Ken Fraser, way back in 1979, hooked a bluefin tuna right out here that weighed 1,495 pounds. If you've ever been in a sushi bar and you wonder why it's so expensive, now you know the reason. The Japanese use bluefin tuna only. They love it. Around the corner, depending on the day, you'll see some white trucks parked in front of a lobster shack, and they wait for the fishermen to bring the bluefin tuna in. Of course, most of them don't weigh 1,495 pounds. And they're taken to the airport and they're shipped to Japan. It's a big export from Nova Scotia to Japan. See that white truck ahead of us? There's a couple there. They're waiting for the fishermen to bring the bluefin tuna in. They'll put the tuna on those white trucks. They'll take them to the airport and they will be shipped to Japan. Right there. They ship lobster too. Lobster's a big export here as well. Price for lobster in Nova Scotia right now? A 1 pound lobster in Nova Scotia, if you bought it at the grocery store, would probably cost you about 18 to 20 bucks. I was in France a couple years ago and we stopped at a restaurant to have a lobster. The lobster was $185. One lobster, $185. Needless to say, I buy my lobster home now. Yes, depends on where they have to ship it. Beautiful spa here if you want to come back and spend a day or weekend. Best time to come to Nova Scotia? 12 months a year. The best time, you mean for the fall colors? That would be late September, early October. The colors are brilliant, brilliant. So, late September, early October is what happens. Do we get a lot of snow here? No, we don't. We don't. Nova Scotia is almost totally surrounded by water, so we don't get a lot of snow. We do have the occasional bad snowstorm, but if you want to see snow, you would go to Ontario, Quebec, out west, they get a ton of snow. But the water acts as a humidifier for us, and we're surrounded by water. Nova Scotia has the most indented coastline in the world. Thousands and thousands and thousands of islands, and the fishermen took advantage of those islands back in the days of Prohibition. You look off to your left, see that island out there? Take a look at it. See it? Thousands like that. Well, back in the days of Prohibition, from 1920 until 1933, there was a prohibition on liquor in the States, and the fishermen living along here could not sell their fish. Nobody was buying it. So they had to turn their fishing schooners into what we call rum runners. And they would load up their fishing schooners, they were very fast boats, load up their fishing schooners with alcohol, rum, whiskey, anything, and they would take it down to the coast of the United States. The area from Maine to Virginia was called Rum Row. See, I'm talking about the days when the big gangsters like Al Capone owned most of the restaurants and bars, etc. And so the fishermen, 50,000 cases of rum left this coastline monthly back in the days of Prohibition. The fishermen earned good money in those days. At the end of Prohibition, when they had to go back to fishing, they didn't want to. They were making too much money as a rum runner. So there are lots of stories, books written about the days of the rum runners along this coastline. And as a matter of fact, the police boats would be out there, and if they suspected your fishing schooner was a rum runner, they would give chase, but they could never catch the fishing schooners. They're too fast. And sometimes the fishing schooners would find those islands I just pointed out, and they would bury their liquor cache, never coming back to get it again. Couldn't be bothered, they were making too much money. It's not uncommon in these days for people on the islands to come across the liquor cache because the thawing and freezing of the winter has forced some of these things up to the surface. I think it was a couple of years ago, a couple of teenagers discovered a huge liquor cache out on one of the islands. Parents were delighted. St. Margaret's Bay. Around the corner used to be one of the most popular bed and breakfast areas in this area. Just sold a couple of years ago, just at the end of this tree line. Oh, looks like the place is up for sale again. This place right here used to be a bed and breakfast. Oh, wow. And around the corner here, you will see a home on the left. As I said, there are a lot of rocks in this area. If your house is on fire and you have to jump from the second story, it's nice to have a rock this big. Take a look at this house on the left coming up. Right here. Look at the rock in the side yard. Right here. We're coming up to Bootlear's Point as we go down the hill here. Look off to your left. Is this not one of the prettiest sights? This is authentic, typical Nova Scotia scenery. This is what you see. So as we clear the trees here, look off to your left. Look at this gorgeous little Nova Scotia fishing. It's called Bootlear's Point. Finer Diner, famous for their club sandwich there. Around the corner here is St. Peter's Church. This is where the people of Peggy's Cove come to bury their dead. A special section of the cemetery here is reserved strictly for them, right here. We're coming into Glen Margaret. There was a home here on the right-hand side of the bus, and the gentleman painted his house. It's called the largest painting of Peggy's Cove. Unfortunately, he sold the building last year, and I don't know if the painting is still there. There used to be a lighthouse out front on the rock, but somebody said they're starting to dismantle it. But as you're coming up here, if you look to the right, I don't know if they've painted the house yet, but this is called the largest painting of Peggy's Cove in the world. Yes, they've removed the lighthouse that was on the rock there out front. And just look at the house here as we turn the corner. That's the largest painting of Peggy's Cove. It recently sold, and I think they're going to dismantle it. And here's a very popular RV park here, if you're into traveling by camper or whatever. Always popular. And another one of those charming little villages that come up. We're in Glen Margaret. Around the corner, the original church is still here. And the school, I believe, has been turned into a daycare center.